Hello friends, welcome to this last session of verbal. So in this session we are going to look at text completion 3 blanks. So let's jump right into the practice problems. I'll give you a couple of minutes to give it a try. Alright, so one thing we need to note when we look at any 3 blank questions is that you will see that most of the questions are going to be very long. Of course, there are going to be 3 blanks, and there is more or less going to be 3 or more sentences. So the question is going to be long, but we can use the same strategy that we have seen. And additionally, what we'll see that, let's say we have these 3 blanks, right? And as we have seen in the 2 blank question, they are going to be correlated either positively or negatively. So if we get one of them, we should be able to lead to the second one, right? But in the 3 blank question, you will mostly see that one of these blanks is not so tightly connected to the other two. So in a lot of questions, what we see that this blank in a way is kind of a separate question, and these 2 blanks in a way are a separate question. So that is one thing that is different in 3 blank questions. Now this may not be true in all the 3 blank questions. There may be some difficult ones in which we really need to understand the meaning of the sentence and try to understand the interrelation among the 3 missing blanks, but mostly it is 1 blank plus 2 blanks, that kind of thing. Okay, so let's look at this question. So this person, Richard Russell, said that 52% of the nation's growth since the Second World War had dash invention. So that is the first idea. He is talking about some kind of relation between growth and invention. That is the first idea here, right? Sorry, this is invention. This is going to be either of these, been at the expense of, bearing on, come through. So that one of these relations is going to be the first blank, right? What he says is, this is the general relation between growth and invention. He further says that dash research, the government's greatest role in assuring continuing innovation, is promising a strong modern patent office. So second, he's saying is that something related to research. We don't know what that something is, but the next idea is that there is a strong patent office. So let's say PO. Okay. Unless we can dash original ideas, we will not have invention, he further says. Speculating on the state of innovation over the next century, several inventors agreed that a future lay in giving children the tools to think creatively and the motivation to invent. Now you will see that this sentence has no blank, but basically what it is saying is that this is the third idea, that patent office is important or innovation is important. Okay, so basically all these 3 sentences together, they are talking about innovation and patent, and the entire outlook towards patent and innovation is positive, right? Now let's closely look at this portion of the sentence. Mr. Russell said that dash research, the government's greatest role in assuring continuing innovation, is promising a strong modern patent office. So we know that there is a strong modern patent office. And what is the job of the patent office? Patent office is basically trying to secure any innovation, right? It is trying to protect some innovation. That is the whole idea of patent. So unless we can dash original ideas, we will not have invention. So what is this dash? This dash is relating to what the patent office does. And what does the patent office do to original ideas? Patent office protects original ideas, right? So this is going to be something like protect or secure, right? Protect or secure. That is the third blank, right? So what about this second blank now? First, we got some idea about the third blank. How is the second blank related to third blank? Is it positively correlated or negatively correlated? He said that dash research, the government's greatest role in assuring continuing education, is setting up a patent office, and patent office protects original ideas, without which we cannot have invention. Okay, so there is no idea reversal. So there is no although, despite, those kind of idea reversals. So that means this word has to be related to positively correlated to this one. That means this word has to bring out the idea that the government is trying to do something positive for innovation, right? What is this? This has to be a positive word. That is all we know. We probably don't have enough idea about this word right now that we will come up with the exact meaning, right? So let's look at these meanings then. Let's just see what kind of meaning are possible here, what kind of options are given. In addition to restricting, are we restricting research? No, this is restricting is a negative word, so this will not fit. Aside from supporting, yes, this is something positive. Far from exaggerating. Now, far from exaggerating research. Now, this is irrelevant. It has no, it does not give a positive correlation with the government, the idea that the government is supporting patents, right? So this is irrelevant. So what remains is something positive, that is aside from supporting. So this is likely to be a correct option, right? Also, quickly look at options for blank 3. We want something like protect or secure, evaluate, protect, disseminate. Disseminate is a negative word, wrong. Evaluate, unless we can evaluate original ideas, we will not have invention. Now, evaluating original ideas, yes, that is also part of protect the patent office, but more the meaning that goes more in this context is protect, because we are talking about the job of government's patent office in continuing innovation. So continuing innovation requires protection more than evaluation. So evaluate, although technically it's a positive word, it could fit into the in this sentence, but in the context of the meaning of the oral paragraph, it does not fit. So this is also not correct. So we go ahead with H. Okay. Now we will see that we have not even looked at this blank at all, and that is what I mean by saying that it is loosely connected, right? So we don't have to necessarily look at all the 3 blanks together at the same time. Now let's look at, we got these 2. Now let's look at blank 1. So this Mr. Russell says that 52% of the nation's growth since the Second World War has invention, has dash invention. Now what we are basically trying to understand the relation between growth and invention. Now looking at this part of the paragraph, the second and third blank, we know that the author is positive about the effect of patent office and patents and innovation on growth, right? So there has to be a positive correlation between growth and invention. Now let's look at what all the positive words we have been at the expense of. Now expense is kind of a negative word, so this will not fit in. Has no bearing on, right? No, if we say no bearing on, that means no, we are not establishing any relationship. In fact, the very purpose of the first sentence is to establish a relationship, right? So no bearing on will not fit in here. Come through. Now what it says, Russell said that 52% of nation's growth since World War II has come through invention. That means there is a positive correlation, and this is the correct answer. Now let's put all these answers here and read the whole paragraph to make sure that the logic that we have employed makes sense. So Russell said that 52% of the nation's growth since the Second World War has come through invention. He further said that aside from supporting research, the government's greatest role in assuring continuing innovation is promoting a strong modern patent office. Unless we can protect original ideas, we will not have invention. Speculating on the state of innovation over the next century, several inventors agreed that the future lay in giving children the tools to think creatively. This is irrelevant, right? So the answer here is C, E and H. Okay, let's look at the second one. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Statements presented as fact in a patent application are dash unless a good reason for doubt is found. Now immediately you should be able to see that this sentence in itself provides us enough clues about this blank. And what are those clues? So there is an unless here, right? And what are these ideas? The idea one here is that statements presented as facts in patent application, that means any patent application is X, any patent application is X, unless, that means idea reversal, unless there is some doubt, right? So that means what do you do if there is a doubt? You question or you probe, right? Or you verify. a patent application if there is a doubt. So that means this X is basically an opposite of verify or investigate, that kind of thing. So X is equal to opposite of verify. Okay, in idea. So let's continue. The invention has only to be deemed more likely than not. That means inventions are normally considered to work more often than not to work in order to receive initial approval. And although thousands of patents are received, no incentive exists for anyone to extend effort dash the science of an erroneous patent. So it is saying that a patent is erroneous, but there is not really any incentive for anyone to do something about it, right? So that means this blank has to be something like effort to dash the science of question the science of, something like question or prove wrong, something like that. So second idea is, second blank is question or prove wrong, so something negative, right? Okay, now let's continue. For this reason, the endless stream of dash devices will continue to yield occasional patents. So what are these devices? What devices are we talking about? We are talking about devices that have not been questioned, right? If you follow the flow of the argument here, it says that there is not really any incentive for anyone to question the science of a patent. So that is why there is going to be a lot of devices that have come from a patent that has a science that does not really work because no one has actually questioned it. That is the whole argument, right? So here we are going to say that something not genuine or something that does not really work, right? Something like that. Okay. Now we have exact idea about all the three blanks, and we don't really have to connect them, right? So this is it's basically like a single blank questions, right? So let's look at what all options we have for the first one. So first one, we are looking at something opposite of verify. Presumed verifiable, carefully scrutinized, considered capricious. Okay. Statements presented as fact in a patent application are presumed verifiable unless a good reason for a doubt is found. So presumed verifiable goes in this context because what we are saying is, I am assuming that it is verifiable. I am not going to verify that unless I have a doubt, right? This is what the patent office is saying. So this goes in the context. Carefully scrutinized, statements presented as facts in a patent application are carefully scrutinized unless good reason for doubt is found. We are not, in fact, what we are saying is we are not going to scrutinize anything unless there is a doubt. So this is exactly the opposite of what we want. And considered capricious. See, capricious, they are trying to fool you basically here. The option has been carefully, on purpose included here because capricious is doubt. So they basically want people to pick capricious, associate capricious with this doubt, and then just pick this as the wrong or as the correct answer, which in fact is the wrong answer, because we were looking for a role reversal, right? Because there is an unless. So in fact, we want something that is an opposite of doubt, something the opposite that will induce a doubt, or an opposite of verify. So consider capricious. Also another way to look at it is just put this in the sentence. Statements presented as facts in a patent application are considered capricious, that means considered doubtful, unless a good reason for doubt is found. So that doesn't make sense. So this is wrong, right? So the one that we choose is presumed verifiable. Okay. Now let's look at the second one. The invention has only to be deemed more likely than not to work in order to receive initial approval. That means it is more likely to receive an approval anyway. So that is why, although there are 1,000 patents are challenged in court for other reasons, no incentive exists for anyone to expend efforts to question the logic or science of erroneous patents. Corroborating is not questioning, advancing is not questioning, is debunking. Yes, debunking is a negative word which says that I am going to question the patent, I am going to question the logic or the science. So debunking is the correct answer here. The third answer, third blank, for this reason, the endless stream of not genuine devices or non-scientific devices or devices that don't actually work will continue to come. So what are these devices? Novel. Yes, those are all going to be novel, but does it fit in the context? It doesn't fit in the context. We are looking for something that is not genuine. So novel is not the case. Bogus, yes, bogus is not genuine. Obsolete, obsolete is not in the context. In fact, obsolete is a stupid choice because obsolete, no one will find a patent for an obsolete device, right? So the correct answers here are A, F and H. Let's look at this one. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Okay, let's read this question. Repression of painful memories is sometimes called willed forgetting. Right? Repression of painful memories. So that means repression. Repressing these painful memories is sometimes called willed forgetting. So we are trying to forget, putting conscious efforts. It is willed. So we are putting conscious effort to forget something. That is what it is talking about. Okay. Yet true forgetting is dash than the phenomenon of repressed memory. So it is saying that true forgetting is something than. Now this than indicates that there is some comparison. So it is, it is either more difficult than a phenomenon of repressed memory, or different than, or something. So basically this word, the first blank, is relating true forgetting. True forgetting, there is some kind of relation between true forgetting and repressed memory, right? This is what the first blank is all about. In spite of the effort that it dash, so this is some kind of verb, repressing unwanted memories is less dash than truly forgetting them. So again it is pointing out a bit difference between true forgetting and repressed memory, because this for here it means because repressed memories are prone to come back. So one fact that we know is that repressed memories can come back, and that is probably not the case with true forgetting, because it's truly forgetting. So that means those memories will never come back. So that means, look at this blank. What kind of word is expected here? Repressing unwanted memories is less dash than truly forgetting them, because repressed memories are prone to come back and truly forgetting memories don't come back. So that means they are less dash. What word can go here? They are less less permanent, or they are less perpetual, that kind of thing, or less strong, that kind of thing, right? So here what options we have, because this we have enough clue about this blank. So let's look at the options for this blank. So we have permanent, arduous, immediate, right? Repressing unwanted memories is less permanent than truly forgetting them, because repressed memories are prone to come back. So permanent fits exactly in the context, whereas the other two don't. So the option here is G. Okay, now let's look at this second option now. In spite of the effort that it dash, repressed memories is less permanent. Okay, now we will not read into this part now, because we already understand what it is. So it says, in spite of the effort that it, what is this it? It means repressing unwanted memories. So in spite of the effort that repressing unwanted memory dash, some kind of verb, repressing unwanted memories is not permanent or less permanent, right? So that means, and there is an in spite of. So we can assume, the logic here is that even if trying to forget something willfully is very difficult, or very takes a lot of time, still it is not permanent. That is the idea here. So we were looking at some kind of verb here, which will say that this action of repressing unwanted memories is very difficult, or it has a lot of efforts, or it requires a lot of time, something like that. So let's put these options here. In spite of the effort that it eases, the eases does not go into this context. In spite of the efforts that it conveys, that also doesn't go. In spite of the effort that it entails, that means in spite of the efforts that are required, repressing unwanted memories is still less permanent. Now that is the idea here. So that means this F option fits in the context. Okay, now let's look at the first one. Yet truly forgetting is dash than the phenomenon of repressed memory. So what, now we have already looked at the later part of this sentence, right, of this question. So we know that they are talking about less permanency and more permanency of both these ideas. So which of these options can go here? But less controlled, are we talking about controlling? Is less controlled the parameter on which true forgetting and repressed memory are compared? No. Different in its effect, is yet true forgetting is different in its effect than the phenomenon of repressed memory? Yes, this could go in the context. Let's keep it for a while. Far more common, are we talking about anything that is more common or less common? No. So commonality or ability to control is not the parameter on which these true forgetting and repressed memory are compared. So that is not the correct answer. In fact, we don't know what parameter it is compared on. In fact, the author is simply saying that they are different. They are different in its effect. So the answers here are going to be B, F and G. Let's put all these answers back and see if they make sense as a paragraph. Repression of painful memories is sometimes called willed forgetting, yet truly forgetting is different in its effect than the phenomenon of repressed memory. In spite of the effort that repressed memory entails, repressing unwanted memories is less permanent than truly forgetting because repressed memories are prone to come back. Now these options B, F, G exactly fit into the context, and that is why they are the correct answers. Okay, so let's look at this one. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Managers who think that strong environmental performance will dash their company's financial performance often dash claims that systems designed to help them manage environmental concerns are valuable tools. Okay, so there's one sentence and two blanks. Let's continue. By contrast, okay, so there is some contrast. Managers who perceive environmental performance to be dash. So there are basically two types of managers, type A and type B. Type A think that the environmental performance will dash their company's financial performance. Let's say this is X. And there are other type of managers who perceive environmental performance to be dash to financial success. So that means this is not of X. So this is exactly opposite of the word that will go here. Okay, right. In either situation, whatever their perceptions, it is a manager's commitment to achieving environmental improvement rather than the mere presence of a system that determines environmental performance. Okay, now there's not really anything here because there's no blank here, but this information could be useful. So let's again read this thing. What is the intended meaning here in X and not X? Okay, so let's look at the option. One way to do that is let's look at the option and let's find out pairs of option choices from here and here that are opposite to each other. Okay, now you see either X or opposite of X is going to be support or don't support. It's basically that kind of a meaning. We don't know whether X is equal to support or not of X equal to support, right? But it's some going to be something like a support and does not support, that kind of thing. And then we will see in the context of this entire paragraph which one which is a better value for X. Okay, eclipse, bolster, degrade. Okay, so now this is a negative word, this is a positive word, this is a negative word. Okay, here let's look at blank 3, complementary, intrinsic, peripheral. Okay, now this is intrinsic is positive in the sense that environmental performance is intrinsic for financial performance, peripheral is negative, and complementary is also negative. Okay. Now let's look at this option. There is one clue here. See, managers who perceive, by contrast, managers who perceive environmental performance to be not X to financial success may view an environmental management system as extraneous. So these managers, these type B managers, think that it is extraneous to have any kind of environmental management system, and hence they are less likely to accept any correlation between financial success and environmental performance, right? So this means they don't really support the environmental performance. They don't believe that environmental performance is going to lead to financial success because they think that it is extraneous. So that means here not of X means do not support, right? So not of X means do not support. That means X has to be equal to support and not of X is equal to does not support. Okay, So let's look at these options now. Complementary, intrinsic, peripheral. Okay, which of these would indicate the meaning that these type B answers do not support any relation between environmental performance and financial success? So if you look at it, peripheral is the idea that will go here. The managers, let's put peripheral here. By contrast, managers who perceive environmental performance to be peripheral, that means not central to financial success, may view as these environmental systems as extraneous, right? So there is a parallel between extraneous and peripheral. So peripheral is the word that perfectly fits into the context. Intrinsic would not fit into the context. That is exactly the opposite of what we want. And complementary, no, although it is somewhere in slightly similar to peripheral, but it does not really bring out that parallelism between there's not really a parallelism between complementary and extraneous. Extraneous is more, peripheral is more fitting in this context, right? So if this is not support, we are done with blank 3 now. Let's come back to blank 1. Blank 1, what do we want? We want x is equal to support. So something like support. Which of these, that means a positive word. So these negative words have gone. Bolster also means support. So we are choosing B. So answer here is B. Okay. Now let's read this and try to figure out the meaning for blank 2. Okay. By contrast, so blank 2 is here, sorry. Okay, let's read this line again. Managers who think that strong environmental performance will support their company's financial performance often dash claims that systems designed to help them manage environmental concerns are valuable tools. So managers who believe that there is a positive correlation between environmental performance and financial performance, what do they do? What is their views on these environmental management systems? This is, and that view is this. Okay, so they are going to have obviously a positive view. They are not going to have a negative view because they think that environmental performance is positively correlated with financial performance. So anything that is negative is going out the door. So hotly dispute is not correct. Now let's look at this positive. This is also positive. This is also positive. Uncritically accept and appropriately acknowledge. Now which of these do we choose? Now if let's look at this option, this last line of the sentence. It says in either situation and whatever their perceptions, it is a manager's commitment to achieving environmental improvement rather than presence of a system that determines environmental performance. So the author really believes that it's not so much, the importance should not be given so much to the system. Okay. Whereas it is basically the commitment that really brings out the correlation between environmental performance and financial performance, right? So he is not very keen on the systems, right? So if we choose appropriately acknowledge, then appropriately would not go in context, because the author believes that it's not actually does not really believe that the systems are important, right? Whereas if we choose appropriately, so that means it would lead us to believe that the author believes that the systems are really important. So this is not the option choice. So we'll go with uncritically accept, which does not contradict with the idea in this last sentence, right? So we'll choose uncritically accept. So the answer is here is going to be B, D, and H, right? So let's put this answer here. Managers who think that strong environmental performance will bolster their company's financial performance often uncritically accept claims that systems designed to help them manage environmental concerns are valuable tools. By contrast, managers who perceive environmental performance to be peripheral to financial success may view an environmental management system as extraneous. In either situation and whatever their perceptions, it is a manager's commitment to achieving an environmental improvement rather than the mere presence of a system that determines environmental performance. So the correct answer here is B, D, H. Let's now look at this question. I'll give you a couple of minutes as usual. Okay, so let's read the question. What readers most commonly remember about John Stuart Mill's classic exploration of the liberty of thought and discussion concerns the danger of dash. So there is some danger that the author is trying to explain. Okay, a danger of something. And there is a semicolon, there is a colon here, right? So that means this idea, there is an extension of idea. In the absence of challenge, one's opinions, even if they are correct, grow weak and flabby. So what he's basically saying is, in the absence of challenge, your opinions become weak, right? And this sentence, this blank actually is that danger of your opinions becoming weak. So what kind of meaning is intended here? Something that is no, in the absence of challenge. What is in the absence of challenge? What happens if there is no challenge? It's kind of a very dull, monotonous kind of a life, because of which your opinions become weak. This is what it is saying. So it has to be something like dull or unexciting, right? Something like that. Now we will see that this test in itself is sufficient for us to tackle this blank. We can tackle just by looking at this question. So let's look at the options: tendentiousness, complacency, fractiousness. Now which of these relates to absence of challenge? So complacency is the only word that fits here. So the first blank would be complacency. So again, let's read this. What readers most commonly remember about the classic is that concerns the danger of complacency, colon, in the absence of challenge one's opinions become weak, right? So in absence of challenge you become complacent and your opinions become weak, right? So yet Mill had another reason for encouraging the liberty of thought and discussion, again a colon, the danger of partiality and incompleteness. So he is now talking about partiality and incompleteness. Right? Okay. Since one's opinions, even under the best circumstances, tend to do something, okay, and because opinions opposed to one's own rarely turn out to be completely something, it is crucial to supplement one's opinion with alternative viewpoints. So what he's saying is there is a danger of partiality. So there is a danger of your opinions being incomplete or partial, and hence it is important for you to supplement your opinion with alternate viewpoints, right? And so you'll see that these two blanks basically should bring out that meaning of partiality and incompleteness, right? So let's look at option B, blank 2. So since one's opinions under best circumstances tend to do what? Which of these options will relate to partiality? Embrace only a portion of truth, change over time, focus on matters close at hand. Now this seems out of context. Change over time, we are not talking about any change or any evolution of your opinion. We are just talking about one's opinions are incomplete or partial, right? So that means embrace only a portion of the truth is the best fit here, because this only is the clue here. Only a portion, rather. Only a portion means partial, right? Let's look at blank 3 now. It should also have to bring out the meaning that your opinions are partial or incomplete. Which of these would go? It is crucial to supplement one's opinion with alternative viewpoints, because opinions opposed to one's own, that means others' opinions or opposing opinions, turn out to be completely what? Rarely turn out to be completely what? Right? It is important for you to supplement your opinion with those of others, because your opinions are partial, and it is very likely that it is very rare that others' opinions are completely dash. Completely what? It would be something like completely incorrect or completely yes, incorrect is the type of word we are looking at, right? So which of these would go here? Erroneous, antithetical, immutable. Immutable does not go here. Antithetical, even if it's a negative word, does not mean incorrect. So erroneous is the best fit here. So the options here are B, D and G. So let's put them back and see. What readers most commonly remember about this classic is the danger of complacency. The absence of in absence of challenge, one's opinions become weak. Yet Mill had another danger to talk about, which is danger of partiality and incompleteness. Since one's opinions, even under best circumstances, tend to embrace only a portion of the truth, that means they are partial, and because opinions opposed to one's own rarely turn out to be completely erroneous, it is crucial to supplement one's opinion with alternative viewpoints. So this makes perfect sense. The answer is B, D and G. Let's go to this one now. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Okay, let's look at the facts. Only with the discovery of an ozone hole over Antarctica in 1985 did chemical companies finally relinquish their opposition to a ban on CFCs which destroy ozone. So the fact here is that it was it was not the chemical companies did not accept the fact that CFCs from their factories or their companies are destroying ozone until it was discovered that there was a ozone layer over Antarctica in 1985. Now the discovery suggested that strong political action to halt production of CFCs might be what? Might be something. Okay, so now there is a discovery of a big ozone hole, and the companies have relinquished their opposition. That means the companies now accept that it is their CFCs that are causing the destruction of ozone layer. So what is likely to be result of that? The discovery suggested that a strong political action to halt production of CFCs might be coming in, or might be visible, or might be enacted, or something like that. So the first here is something that talks about some change in regulation, some change in CFC regulation, right? Okay. And fortunately, the chemical industry no longer felt compelled. That means they are no longer no longer feel any need to oppose this action. So this action is again this word. Although now here there is a semicolon here. That means this is kind of a not a semicolon, colon. This is kind of a separate part of the sentence. So let's read only that. Although companies had recently dashed their research into CFC substitutes. So now we are talking about substitutes. Studies they had initiated years earlier had produced dash results. Now you will see that this statement has a contradiction. There is an although. So what we are saying is although companies did something for their research for CFC substitutes, their studies had initiated had produced dash results. So this blank and this blanks have to be opposites, right? So let's look at it. Although we are talking about CFC substitutes, right? And the overall idea here is that, see, now there is going to be some kind of regulation on CFC, but companies are not really worried about it because they are doing some research on CFC substitutes. So that means if let's say there is going to be an action on CFC, so that means company why would company not worry about that ban on CFCs? Now because they have been doing research on CFC substitutes, and they have found something because of which they don't really worry about any ban on CFCs. Now that is the story here. So that means they had studies they had initiated earlier had produced some kind of positive results, right? This is some positive word is the only thing that will fit into this blank. So that means the one word that will fit here in this blank is going to be negative because there is an although, right? So let's look at that. Corroborated, although companies had recently, corroborated is a positive word, no. Publicized, no. Curtailed, curtail is a negative word. Curtail means temporarily stopped or something, reduced. So curtailed goes here. Although companies had recently curtailed their research in CFC substitutes, studies they had initiated earlier had produced dash results, some kind of positive results. Encouraging results, inconclusive is negative word, doesn't go. Unsurprising, in out of context, also it's a negative word. Though encouraging is a positive word, so that will go here. So basically what we are saying is, although companies had recently reduced or curtailed their research into CFC substitutes, studies they had initiated years earlier had produced encouraging results. Now, these two blanks make perfect sense. Now let's look at what kind of word would go in blank 1. The discovery suggested that strong political action will on CFCs might come in power, or a strong political action is expected, that kind of a thing. So let's look at imprudent. Why would political action be imprudent if there is a discovery that CFCs are banning CFCs are destroying ozone layer? So imprudent is not correct. Premature, it's not premature, it is after discovery, everything, the facts and everything have been laid out, even the companies are now accepting that, so that this doesn't make sense. So imminent is what we imminent means upcoming, so no, that is what will fit here. So the answer here is going to be A, F, G. Let's look at this one. Okay, putting a cash value on ecological services provided by nature. Okay, so some kind of cash value for ecological services, such as, this is an example, there are two hyphens here, so this is an example, such as water filtration service provided by forested watershed. Okay, so this is not really important. Putting a cash value on the ecological services provided by nature has historically been a dash process. So there is some kind of adjective. So this process of putting a cash value on these services is dash process. Okay, and what will follow is going to give us some clue about this blank. Okay, so let's continue. Early attempts at such valuation resulted in impressive but dash figures. Now you will see that impressive but dash, and there is a but here, and impressive is a positive word, so that means this word has to be something negative. They are impressive, these attempts were impressive, but something negative. Okay, impressive but dash figures that were seized on by environmental advocates, and then when these figures were later dash, okay, they were used by opponents to tar the whole idea. So opponents are using these figures to discredit the idea, okay, or disregard the idea. So what are these figures? So are these figures something good or bad? Because opponents are using it to tar the whole idea. So that means these figures are not really trustworthy, or not really, there's some kind of negative thing in that figure, because of which the opponents are using those figures to tar the whole idea. So that means this is going to be a negative word, right? Okay, and this whole phenomenon of these figures being this negative word and opponents using them to banish the idea, this whole thing is what? This whole thing is an adjective for blank one, right? So let's look at that. Dispassionate. Does this whole thing look like dispassionate? Dispassionate doesn't go. Problematic. Yes, it's a problematic process, because early attempts have been impressive, but they were not so something negative. Okay, and also when these figures were later something negative, they were used by opponents to tar the whole idea. So problematic is what will go here. Let's continue. Straightforward. Now this is not a straightforward process, because there is lots of ups and downs. Their early attempts have not been so successful. So straightforward is not going to fit in here. So what we are going to look at is problematic. Okay. Now let's continue with blank 2. Redundant. Redundant is a negative word. Unsound, understated. Okay, all these are negative words, so that does not help us. But also let's continue with blank 3. Ignored, discredited, confirmed. So confirmed ruled out, because it's supposed to be a negative word. Okay, now we need now these 1 2 3 here and 1 and 2 here could go technically into any of these blanks. So, but what words are actually, what pair of words would fit in the context? So let's look at it. When these figures were later dash, they were used by opponents to tar the whole idea. Now ignored, will that go? These figures were later ignored, the opponent would tar the whole idea. No, that doesn't make sense. When these figures were discredited, they were used by opponents to tar the whole idea. Now discredited fits into the context, because these figures are not really not something negative in them, and they were also discredited, and that is why opponents are taking it using those discredited figures to tar the whole idea. So discredited goes here. Okay, now let's look at this blank now. Is it redundant? Early attempts at such valuation resulted in impressive but redundant figures. Now what do you mean by redundant figures? Redundant figure does not go in the context. Unsound. Yes, unsound figures goes well in the context, because these are early attempts. The attempts were impressive, but the figures were unsound, and later they were even discredited. So unsound could go in this context. Understated. Now do we know whether they were understated or overstated or anything like that? We don't know anything. We all know that all that we know is that it's a negative word, and because we have chosen discredited as blank 3, blank 2 should justify that those figures being discredited. So unsound figures can be discredited, so that is why unsound is the correct option here, right? So we'll choose unsound. So the answer here is going to be B, E and H. So let's put them back in the answer. Putting a cash value on services has been a problematic process. Early attempts at such valuation resulted in impressive but unsound figures that were seized by environmental advocates, and then when these figures were discredited, they were used by opponents to tar the whole idea. Let's move on here. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Okay, so let's look at what this statement says. Rather than viewing, now you should immediately catch that there is going to be some kind of idea reversal. Rather than viewing, rather than X, I'm doing Y, and X and Y are opposite, right? So there's going to be some contrast of ideas here. Rather than viewing the colonies antinomial controversy as the inevitable dash of intransient opposing forces, it's a dash of opposing forces, right? It's a dash of opposite forces of radical and dash beliefs. Now see, if you read, if you parse the sentence correctly, you will see that forces of radical and dash beliefs, this is one piece, male and female piety, another piece, and the third piece is dash and secular power, right? So these are like examples, or the examples used by the author to show the intransient opposing forces. So that means these pairs are like they are here, male and female, some kind of opposites. So radical and something that is not radical, right? So this 2 is going to be something that is not radical, right? Male and female piety, something and secular power. So 3 is going to be something non-secular. So 3 is going to be non-secular. Okay. Okay, and what is this? Inevitable dash of opposing forces. So it could be something related to opposing forces. Okay, let's continue to read, and we'll get some better idea about this first blank. So we have these inevitable dash of opposing forces of radical and non-radical beliefs, male and female piety, non-secular and secular power, and like as the other critics have, Winship argues that the crisis was not fixed and structural. Okay, so we don't see any clue here, so that is all right. But now let's look at this intransient opposing forces. So what is likely to happen to opposing forces? They are going to attack each other, something like attack each other, right? That is the only clue that we get here. So let's look at the options for all the three. So do we have something like attack here, opposing forces, some word that will bring out that attacking characteristic of two opposing forces? So dissolution is not correct, melding is not correct, collision will go there. Collision is kind of an collision between two opposing forces. Blank 2, we are looking at something like non-radical. So revolutionary is radical, rather could be radical. Orthodox is not radical, right? Questionable, we don't know whether radical and questionable are not exactly opposite, so that is out of context. Blank 3 is going to be non-secular. So it's going to be, is it cerebral? It's not cerebral. Is it civil? It's not civil. Clerical, non-secular and clerical is what goes in the context. So the answer here is C, E and G. You will see that for all the three we are using local clues, and it's basically the same clue. You just have to find the structure that X and not X, Y and not Y, that kind of a structure, and then all the local clues, radical and non-radical, secular and non-secular, using those we can solve these two blanks. And the third one is kind of an overall attack or a characteristic of attacking opposite forces attacking each other. So this is something like attack. So it's kind of a simple question. Okay, so let's move on to this question. Please give it a try. Okay, well, let's read it. Philosophy, unlike most other subjects, does not try to extend our knowledge by discovering new information. Instead, it tries to deepen our understanding through dash what is already closest to us. Okay, so let's first of all get this part clear. Philosophy, unlike most other subjects, does not try to extend our knowledge by discovering new information about the world. So that means it's not about finding new information. Philosophy is about what could be the next thought. If philosophy is not about finding new information, then it is about finding more details about something that we already know. right? So that is the thought here. Philosophy is knowing more in detail about things that we already know. Let's say old things. Okay, old things. Instead, it tries to deepen our understanding through, okay, so this is a word, missing blank, what is already closest to us. So that again it goes with the same idea, knowing in detail about what we already know. So what could this phenomenon be? This is an action, right? So this is an action. What action would you require to know something more about something that we already know? A deep insight, thought about an old thing, or a more keen observation, something like that is the word we are looking for. So let's look at the options. Attainment of what is already closest to us. This does not make sense. Rumination on. Rumination means thought. So deep thinking on what we already know. Yes, this fits in the context. Detachment from. Detachment from something that we already know is not going to give us any detail about that. So this is not correct. So the correct answer here would be rumination on. Okay. So instead it tries to deepen our understanding through rumination on what is already known to us, the experiences, thoughts, concepts and activities that make up our daily lives, but that ordinarily escape our notice precisely because they are so familiar. So basically it's about things that we are already familiar with, knowing more about those. Normally we don't think of those things, but philosophy gives specific attention to these routine type of things. This is what the paragraph is all about. Okay, so philosophy begins by finding something, the things that are something. Okay, so what these two blanks can be. So from here what we gather is philosophy is not about knowing more information, it is about learning something in detail about things that that are very very dull or very very monotonous, or daily routine type of thing, right? So the things that are dash, so this word here has to be something like routine or dull. Okay, and finding begins by finding interesting the things that are routine or something like that. So this is in contrast with what would normally go with dull or routine, right? So let's look at the third blank first. So which of these options are like routine and dull? Most prosaic. Prosaic means dull, so this is a good option. Somewhat hackneyed, this is not correct. Refreshingly novel, this is not correct. So the correct here option here is most prosaic. Okay, now the most prosaic or most dull things, what would you need to do in order to learn about them more in detail? You will have to be fascinated by them, or you will have to find them interesting, right? So which of these blanks goes in that context? Essentially irrelevant, doesn't go. Utterly mysterious, yes. If you find a routine thing very mysterious, then you are going to lead to philosophy. So this is a good option. Thoroughly commonplace. No, commonplace is a synonym of routine, dull in this context. So whereas if you find something commonplace, you are not going to pay attention to it. So this is not going to fit in the context. What is going to fit in the context is utterly mysterious. So the answer here is B, E and G, right? So philosophy, unlike most other things, is not about knowing new information. It is about deepening our understanding through a rumination on what is already known to us, our thoughts, actions and everything. Okay, philosophy begins by finding utterly mysterious the things that are most prosaic. So that is how the paragraph should go. B, E, G is the correct answer. So let's move to this one now. Okay, so let's this paragraph is about a politician. So let's go through the facts. The most striking thing about the politician is how often his politics have been dash rather than ideological, right? So this itself is giving us some clue. So we are saying that whatever this is not ideological, right? So it is something that that is not based on a particular thought, or it's not based on a particular theme of ideas that the politician or maybe his political party are supporting, whereas he is more of dash. So that there is an opposite of ideological. As he adapts his political positions, that means he's very flexible, he shows flexibility, he changes his views and everything. he adapts his political position at any particular moment to the political realities that constrain him. Okay, so he's basically showing adaptability, and he doesn't necessarily follow an ideology, whereas he just changes depending on, or he changes his opinions depending on the political reality. So which of these blanks will go here? Quixotic, is there anything? Quixotic means something that is idealistic but stupid. So quixotic does not go in this context. Self-righteous, are we saying that he's selfish or he's trying to give more importance to himself? No, this also doesn't go in the context. Strategic. Now a clue here is that adapt. So if he's adapting to political realities, that means he's seeing the overall picture and trying to understand where he fits in and all that. So in that way, his politics is more strategic than ideological. So the correct answer here would be strategic, right? You'll note that we haven't even read the entire sentence, right? Entire question we haven't read, but we have still got one blank, and that is, again, this blank is very loosely connected with the relation between these two blanks. So now let's continue. He does not, however, piously do something to his political principles, only to betray them in practice, right? So basically, he is going to betray them in practice as need be, but he does not do so. He does not piously do something to them. What is that? So see, we look at it. This is piously. It's a positive word, right? So this adjective we are going to have here, that is also going to be a positive word, because and he does not do that. Okay, later anyway he is going to betray, but right now here this word is going to be a positive word, right? So which one of the this is going to do that? Flout is a negative word, does not go. Follow is a positive word, brandish is a positive word. Okay, so now let's put follow here. We'll say he does not, however, piously follow his political principles, only to betray them in practice. Now follow and betray don't go hand in hand, and they are, in fact, if he is going to follow, then he is not going to betray, whereas he is doing both. So this does not fit in the context. Whereas we can talk about brandish, that is the correct answer, in fact. So we can say he does not, however, piously brandish, that means display or ostentatious display of something. So he does not, however, piously brandish political principles, only to betray them in practice. So this fits in the context. Rather, he attempts in subtle ways to balance his position, political self-interest, with a something. Okay, so he's trying to balance himself or his interest with something, viewing himself as an instrument of some unchanging higher purpose. So he believes that his balance, or his strategic flexibility, that he is using to balance his position, that is something of a higher purpose. So he believes that, and he truly believes that, and that is what he does. This is what the sentence is saying. So which one of these will go? So it has to be, if he truly believes that, and he believes that some unchanging higher purpose is what he's doing, so then his has to be a positive word. So profound cynicism is negative, wrong. Deeply felt moral code, yes, deeply felt moral code goes with higher purpose. And is pragmatism, thoroughgoing pragmatism. So that we don't have any clue to believe that what his approach is pragmatic or not. Pragmatic means practical. So his approach is practical or not, we don't have any information. So this is out of context. We can't pick this one. Whereas this one will go here. It basically what it says, he attempts in subtle ways to balance his political self-interest with a deeply felt moral code, viewing himself as an instrument of some unchanging higher purpose. So the correct answer here is C, D, and H. Let's move to this one. Please give it a try. Okay, so let's look at the facts. Wills argues that certain malarial parasites are especially some kind of adjective. New parasites, certain malarial parasites are especially dash because they have more recently, that means more recently entered humans than other species. Okay, that means let's call them new parasites, other humans, and therefore have had dash time to evolve towards dash. Now you will see that there is only one sentence that has all the three blanks. So this is kind of, it looks like it's kind of a complex sentence, but let's split it further. So what we are saying is, so there are some types of malarial parasites that have entered the human system more recently, and therefore have had what time, right? If they have entered more recently, then they have got less time. So this is like a no-brainer, right? So so even if the sentence has 3 blanks, you know that 1 blank as it is gets filled, right, without getting any other clue. So the blank 2 is going to be something like less. So ample does not go in context. Insufficient was good. Adequate is same as ample, so does not go. So correct answer here for the second blank is going to be insufficient. Okay. So these guys have insufficient time to evolve towards that. Okay. Yet now this is the most important thing. This piece of the sentence that's going to tell us a lot of information about blank 1 and blank 3. Yet there is no reliable evidence that means after whatever is going to come after this is going to be a claim. Yet there is no evidence to the claim that most harmful species, Plasmodium species, has been in humans for a shorter time than less harmful species. So basically what it's saying, that there is a claim that the species who enter human system more recently are more harmful, right? If you read it properly, you will see that there is a claim that more recent species is going to be more harmful, right? But he's saying that there is no such evidence. Okay, so now if most recent species are more harmful, so let's put this idea into the first sentence. Will argues that certain mammalian parasites are especially what? If these parasites are more recent, right? So they are what? They are going to be harmful. So this is going to be harmful. Okay. Will argues that certain malarial parasites are especially harmful because they have more recently entered humans and than other species, and therefore have had less time to evolve towards something. Because they have got less time, they are something, right? So and if they had more time, they would have evolved towards something. Okay, now let's come to this blank later. Let's look at blank 1. Populous does not go. Malignant is harmful, goes in the context. Threatened does not go in the context. So malignant is the correct answer. Now let's read this again. Will argues that certain malarial parasites are especially malignant because they have more recently entered humans than other species, and therefore have had insufficient time to evolve towards something. Now evolve towards what? No, the idea here is that as the time goes, these malignant parasites become less malignant, right? That is the idea that is again stated here also. So we are looking for something that is opposite of harmful. So let's look at virulence. No. Benignity, yes, and variability. Variability is irrelevant. So the correct answer here is going to be B, E, H. Let's put it back in the answer. We say Will argues that certain malarial parasites are especially malignant because they have more recently entered humans than other species, and therefore have had insufficient time to evolve towards benignity. But there is no evidence that most harmful species that have entered human system for a shorter time are less harmful. So the correct answer here is B, E, H. Let's move to this last question. Please give it a try. No other contemporary poet's work has such a well-earned reputation for dash. Okay, so this guy, we're talking about some poet guy, and he has some reputation for X. And there are few whose moral vision is so imperiously unsparing. Of late, however, the almost belligerent demands of his severe and densely forbidding poetry. Okay, so his poetry is what? Severe and densely forbidding. So there is this some kind of serious poetry. So these are the adjectives that probably are going to give us some clues. His severe and densely forbidding poetry, okay, have taken an improbable turn. This new collection of the poet's 4th book in 6 years. Okay, so he's written 4 books in 6 years. An ample output even for poets of sunny disposition. So sunny disposition means poets who write often. Okay, so an ample output even for poets of sunny disposition. So this even basically tells us that most sunny disposition poets write 4 books in 6 years, but this guy he writes serious poetry, of course, and for his standard it's really a lot of work for 6 years, because he's written 4 books, which is even by the standards of more frequently writing poets, it is still a good voluminous work, whereas for this person it definitely is, because let alone for one of such dash, over the previous 50 years. Okay, so this dash is more of has to be has to talk about the author's less frequent writing, right? If you read this whole sentence, it says this new collection, in fact the poet has written 4 books in 6 years, which is great, which is a lot for even a not even a frequent writer. Forget about a person who is dash for last 50 years. This is what the sentence is. So let's now, this information is sufficient for us to get get the second blank. So let's go to that. Here it says something like that is less frequent, something like less frequent, right? So penitential austerity, intractable prolixity, piteous prodigality. So we are not talking about his prodigality, we are worried about the frequency. Prolixity is not, does not go. Penitential austerity. Now austerity in this means that he is not getting himself involved a lot, and he has not been doing that for last 50 years, but last 6 years he has written 4 books. So that is what the sentence is talking about. So answer here is going to be penitential austerity. Okay, now let's come to the first one. Okay, let's continue. Let's not worry about the first one. Okay, yet for all his newfound what? We know that last 50 years he wrote only less frequently, and last in the recent 6 years he has written 4 books. That means he suddenly become more frequent writer. So even for his newfound frequency or something that is on that line, so this is more of a frequency thing. Okay, his poetry is as thorny as ever. Again it is saying that it's very thorny, kind of a serious poetry, right? So here the option we have is frequent. So what is this? Taciturnity doesn't go. Volubility, yes, volubility means volume, so that talks about the frequency. Pellucidity does not go in the answer. So answer here is volubility and penitential austerity. Now let's come to the first sentence. What do we know about this person's poetry? We know that it is severe, it is thorny, it is densely forbidding. Okay, no other contemporary poet's work has such a well-earned reputation for densely forbidding poetry, for being severe, right? These are all the things that we can associate with the poet's reputation, right? So which of these words would go there? Patent accessibility, we are not talking about any accessibility. Intrinsic frivolity, we are not talking about any frivolity or anything. Near impenetrability. Now near impenetrability goes with densely forbidding poetry, right? It's forbidding and impenetrability, these are kind of synonyms, so we'll pick this one. So the answer is going to be C, D and H. Let's put them back. No other contemporary poet's work has earned such a reputation for near impenetrability. Okay, this new collection is the poet's 4th book in 6 years, a good output for even a writer of sunny disposition, more so for a person with penitential austerity. Yet despite his newfound volubility, his poetry is as serious or as thorny as it ever was, right? So CDH goes in the context. So that brings us to the end of this session. So I hope you learned a good deal, and if you have any questions, suggestions, feedback, do mail us on these details. Thank you.